To give you an example of how bad the writing is on Secret Invasion, there's a scene in this final episode where Fury and Sonya Falsworth are trying to convince the President that he should shoot Rhodes because Rhodes is actually a Skrull imposter. The President has a gun in his hand, and Sonya has her gun pointed at Skrull Rhodes. They also want the President to call off a nuclear missile strike against Russia. Now, what's stupid about this scene is the contrived tension. There's no reason they need to drag this out at all. Falsworth can literally shoot Rhodes in the head at any moment, which would immediately turn Rhodes back into his Skrull form, thus proving to the President that what they're telling him is true. But instead, they wait until Skrull Rhodes has an opportunity to attack Falsworth, and then Fury has to grab the President's gun out of his hand and shoot Rhodes himself. Another dumb aspect of this show is the idea that the villain would decide to take over Earth and kill all of humanity, despite the fact that humanity never harmed him in any way, just because he felt used by Fury, who failed him. Not only is this a terrible and weak motivation for a bad guy, but it also strains believability that Fury was unable to find the Skrulls a new home planet to live on. I mean, the idea that there were no suitable planets out there is just daft. I mean, we've seen from other MCU productions like Guardians of the Galaxy, for example, which takes place in space, there's a near unlimited supply of worlds to choose from. There's got to be one out there, right? What I found also surprising was that this was another short episode at just under 36 minutes long. I thought for sure that this episode would be longer. I mean, it's the season finale, and hopefully the series finale. According to this Bounding Into Comics article, Secret Invasion premiere viewership fails to break into Nielsen's top 10 streaming programs. So very few people are watching it. Hardly surprising. I suppose the highlight of this episode is, if I'm being positive, is the performance of Kingsley Benadir in the scene where he's explaining his motivations in an impassioned confrontation with Fury. Although Gravik's motivations don't really make much sense, as I've said, Benadir's acting is exceptional in this scene. Unfortunately, and I was kind of anticipating this, the scene is a big fake-out. Turns out this isn't really Fury at all, it's Gaia in his form. They make use of the Avengers Harvest super serum, and they become superheroes basically and have a big superhero-style fight, making use of the powers of multiple Avengers characters, with some not-so-great CGI in places. I mean, seriously, some of the CGI looks really rough. Again, how this show was made for $212 million, I'll never know. But at any rate, this big CG-heavy superhero action sequence doesn't really feel in keeping with the grounded, gritty spy thriller theme of the series. It just feels out of place. Furthermore, although Fury did manage to convince the President to call off the nuclear strike, Gaia's fight with Gravik feels more like the main showdown of the series. And I think this completely steals Fury's thunder. In fact, there really isn't any major heroic moment or redemption story for Fury. Instead, Gaia saves the day, completely overshadowing him, despite having never earned her position as the heroine of the story, and being a woefully underdeveloped character. She even helps the military free all the humans who had been kept prisoner and replaced by Skrulls. And the real Colonel Rhodes doesn't even say anything, let alone put on the War Machine suit. Very disappointing. I think the real Rhodes should have been given something positive to do in this final episode, considering he'd been held captive and replaced by an evil imposter for the entire series. The ending of the episode is a total mess. In just the final few minutes, they squeeze in this whole contrived plot point of a war between humans and Skrulls declared by the President. And it's so ham-fisted and rushed. It's basically stuffed into the end of the episode in what is effectively a kind of action montage of vigilante groups killing Skrulls and sometimes accidentally killing innocent humans that they think are Skrulls. In the final scene, Fury is heading back to the Saber space station for reasons that aren't explained. I don't even know what Fury wants or why he's doing what he's doing, to be quite honest. Man, I wish he was still in S.H.I.E.L.D. He doesn't really accomplish anything very significant, and moreover, we're not given any sense that he's overcome his personal demons. As you know, for the entire series, Fury was told he's not the man he used to be, that he's basically a shadow of his former self, and he hasn't been the same since the blip. But from this episode, we don't get any sense of resolution of this personal story arc for Fury. His Skrull wife, Priscilla/Vara, shows up, and she wants him to love her in her original form. She wants him to also refer to her as Vara, which he does. But their confusing and completely unappealing romance had absolutely zero emotional impact beyond concluding on a gross and cringe moment where he kisses her while she's a Skrull. Oh, those teeth. Oh man, I feel for Samuel L. Jackson. I can imagine this scene was kind of embarrassing to film. The episode and the season ends on the same dour and lifeless note the entire series has limped along with. And by the way, for those of you wondering if Talos and Maria Hill are brought back to life somehow, no such luck. They both stay dead. Two important characters killed senselessly and without sufficient mourning as far as I'm concerned. Deaths that were meant to shock and raise the stakes, but were just depressing and disappointing and unnecessary, just like the rest of the show. I feel both characters were very poorly served with these empty deaths. Gaia did at least get justice for her dead parents, including Talos obviously, by killing Gravik, but she did so by also stealing the limelight from the primary character of Nick Fury. I felt he was relegated in this episode to a kind of supporting role. He didn't get any moment of personal triumph, and there's no satisfying ending for him. I suppose you could say he gave Gaia the harvest, so she had the power to kill Gravik, so his actions indirectly contributed to saving the day, but his contributions feel too utilitarian and peripheral for my liking. I mean, he should be front and center in the final battle with the bad guy. But unfortunately, modern storytelling in this particular genre is really broken at the moment. There were so many better ways a story about a secret alien invasion by shapeshifters could have been told in the MCU. It's hard to believe it could be so utterly screwed up in this manner. But I must say, I never watched a show quite like Secret Invasion before, and I don't mean that as a compliment, because it isn't. I've never endured a series quite like this. I'm glad it was only 6 episodes. I can't quite put into words, but there's something about the series that's just off. The tone and the vibe of the show, it's so grim and lifeless. There's no soul, no fun, just lifeless banality and unpleasantness. It's also very mediocre in the quality of writing. The MCU is not in a good place right now. I think we've covered that ground well enough at this point. The MCU really needed a hit, especially given just how bad its TV offerings have been of late. Secret Invasion missed the mark by miles. That concludes my coverage of Secret Invasion. I will eat my hat if it's renewed for a second season. Thank you very much for watching this video. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more, and if you'd like to support my work, you can do so via the link below. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.